Back after a week off, I'm ready to go. Are you? I hope you are. Welcome to my state of mind. I am mentally refreshed, still suffering from a little jet lag. A little trip to Scotland to play golf with the fellas over 6 days. Oh, poor me, right? I saw some of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in the world. Now, if you're a real golfer, you want to go to St. Andrews, which I did, and it reminded me of, I was going to bring pictures, but I just thought I'd mention. You know how you go to Disney and you see like replicas of really famous places, and you think, I wonder if it's that nice when you really get there? St. Andrews is really that nice when you get there. There were tears in my eyes. It was so beautiful. But it's a public park, and you'll be teeing off, and people are walking across to the beach, like completely, like across the fairway. It was magical and pedestrian at the same time. Scotland is a beautiful country. It was a lot of fun. I'll offer some stories as we go over the course of the week, but it is a pleasure to be back live with original broadcasts here now. I hope you enjoyed some of the former shows that we posted over the course of what is nearly a year. We're less than a month away from a year anniversary for the show, if you can believe that. Time flies when you are having fun. Todd Giroux is my guest tonight. He is a Democratic candidate for governor. He's that fourth guy that doesn't have any money raised, and you wonder, what's he doing in the debate? So we'll ask him, what are you doing in the debate? And see what the answers are. In the meantime, we got a lot going. Before we go to the rundown, though, Laura, I just wanted to say that condolences to the family and friends of Fernand Joseph St. Germain, longtime congressman in the 1st District. I learned just before our broadcast recording. We record this program for you late in the afternoon, and you see it at 7:30, and it repeats at 11:30, of course, that he had passed away. And I think at the age of 89. He served in Congress, I believe, from January 3rd, 1961 to January 3rd, 1989. That's a long run. God bless him. Condolences. All right, to the rundown we go. Yeah, this whole thing in Missouri is a battle between those two concepts, it seems. The governor of Texas might have the biggest break he ever had in a bid for 2016. The political ads, we look at them every once in a while. Come on, man. In this one, we'll show you and just ask the question, really? Really? And as we move along here, some of the really dumbest things I've seen in a race. Now the GOP Republican primary has reached the bottom, if there is a bottom. This happened last night. I'll tell you about it. And a big one tonight, absolutely. And we're talking Little League. Let's go. Let's dig in. What do we got? First thing, race and the law. Here's the headline. The New York Times. So a new autopsy from the family shows that Michael Brown was struck at least six times. You know the story on this, right? Here's an update from CBS, then we'll talk about it.
Dozens of National Guard troops are arriving in Ferguson, Missouri. The governor called in the soldiers to restore peace after another night of clashes between protesters and police following the shooting of an unarmed black teenager by a white police officer. A team of lawyers and medical examiners hired by the family of 18-year-old Michael Brown spoke today about the private preliminary autopsy on Brown. It revealed he had been shot 6 times, 4 times in his arm and twice in his head.
Because of the 2 gunshot wounds to the head, indicating that Mr. Brown was bending over as they were coming down, those 2 shots were most likely the last 2 to occur to him.
The violence increased over the weekend after police released surveillance video of Brown allegedly stealing a box of cigars from a convenience store just minutes before he was gunned down.
It's a very complicated thing when you talk about race and the law when it comes to this kind of white police officer, young black person, and the media just loves this, right, and thrives on it. You got law enforcement at different levels now at each other's throat. The feds, the Justice Department saying that the local police should not have released that video, which gives you a little perspective. This young man was not up to any good on that particular day anyway. But he was unarmed, and how he got gunned down is anybody's guess. But we can't decide on the play-by-play of this. Hopefully we get some objective analysis as the case moves through the justice system. But the public protest, listen, I'm all for public protest. There's nothing wrong with First Amendment rights being exercised and people standing up and asking questions and offering some kind of, presence of population to say, we're mad about the system, we're mad about this, and we want an arrest. They have every right to do that. But the looting is what drives me crazy, and the psychology of it is just is something that we don't have time for here. But I wish that political leadership and culture influencers would be more aggressive in talking about how destructive that part of the public reaction is, which has nothing to do with the earnestness of the debate, right? I'm not so sure if there's low voices on that or low media attention to the voices on that. But they ought to turn up the volume on it anyway. We'll be talking about it, I'm sure, nightly for quite some time. Next item on the national scene, you got Governor Perry's big break. That's what I'm calling it. The headline says no, right? In the Washington Post, that the redemption tour for his bid for 2016, he got thumped in 2012, right? Hits a big obstacle with indictment. Of course, he's been the governor for 14 years. He ran for president in 2012, got thumped. He's going to run again in 2016. He's headed to New Hampshire. He's been indicted now because he vetoed the funding for a specific program under the tutelage of the state DA, district attorney, who went after him last time. There's a back and forth going on, and he says this about that.
I wholeheartedly and unequivocally stand behind my veto, and I'll continue to defend this lawful action of my executive authority as governor. We don't settle political differences with indictments in this country. It is outrageous that some would use partisan political theatrics to rip away at the very fabric of our state's Constitution.
This could be very motivating for his conservative base. It might give him the momentum he is looking for, because frankly, I don't know how you resurrect that awful campaign he ran in 2012. He may have been Peter Principled out as governor, but he's been there a long time. This could jumpstart him and end up being the best good bad break he's ever had. Stay tuned on that one. Coming back home, I saw this ad this week. Now, we don't have Guillaume de Ramel, candidate for Secretary of State, booked in here quite yet. His opponent, Nelly Gorbea, Democratic primary for Secretary of State, is booked in for tomorrow night, actually. But I saw this ad over the weekend and thought, oh, come on, really?
Guillaume de Ramel,
Definition, please.
a reformer who's taking on the system.
Use in a sentence.
As Secretary of State, Guillaume de Ramel will be a watchdog.
Will he make sure something like 38 Studios never happens again?
Correct. And he's not taking a penny from lobbyists.
Guillemedederamel. Guillaume de Ramel.
That's it.
Will you make sure something like 38 Studios will never happen again? Guillaume, you're running for Secretary of State. Secretary of State. I mean, 38 Studios is a sore spot for every voter out there. But will you promise that you'll do something to make sure that 38 Studios will never happen again? You're running for Secretary of State, not Attorney General, not Governor. Know thy race thy is seeking, or something like that. Come on, man. Next item. And speaking of come on, man, the Republican primary has got absolutely nuts. You see these two guys right there running against each other, Ken Block and Alan Fung. So I get this press release today. Here's the headline from the Fung camp. I thought, what the heck is this? Fung for Governor campaign calls on Ken Block to renounce disgusting use of Nazi imagery? And it goes on and on and on. The first line, Patrick Sweeney, campaign manager for the Fung campaign for governor today, called on candidate Ken Block to renounce the use of Nazi imagery by the Block for Governor campaign to describe supporters of Alan Fung for governor and apologize to the people of Rhode Island. It goes on about this guy, Peter Godin, who posted on a Facebook page entitled Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Remember Cyndi Lauper? Girls just want to have fun. Fun. Anyway, he posted. So he posted this cartoon on this thing. It's obviously a Nazi soldier. You know, bonehead thing to do. The guy doesn't work for the Block campaign. What campaign in 2014 would assert that another campaign has a Nazi strategy? I don't care who you support, who you don't in this race, who you think is smart, but Alan Fung is got to be kidding me. I hope Patrick Sweeney, the campaign manager, did this on his own, so Fung can just pop him and be done with it. But if Alan Fung thought this was the right strategy to start charging Ken Block with using Nazi tactics or having people inside his campaign for doing so, you know, anyway, you know, Block was really mad today.
Peter Godin is not part of the Black campaign. He's not on this staff. I am Jewish. I know all about the Holocaust. It is remarkable that Alan Fung's campaign would lecture to a Jew about the horrors of Nazi Germany. I have no control over an individual's use of the internet in their own name on their own space. No one does. But I got to tell you, my first visual reaction to this is how dare he come to me and lecture about my campaign and Nazism.
I didn't even know Ken Block was Jewish. Not that it matters. Maybe I knew. I forgot. Whatever. I mean, he's mad. I understand, but he should have just laughed at Alan Fung, because that's a pathetic request and charge. Guys, you're running for governor. Alan, you're running for governor. Could you act like it, please? Holy mackerel. So I got to tell you this real quick story. So last night, about 4 in the morning, I'm out cold, and I hear this incredible wailing sound. It sounds like this. Just found this for me on Google. I'll put this next to the microphone. Listen to this. But it wasn't. It was worse than that. I thought some kid was being like chewed to death or something outside my window. So I jump up. I'm out ready to go outside and save the day, call the cops, do whatever. And my daughter says, "Dad, it's just a fisher cat." Have you ever seen one of these suckers? Would you be careful out there? You know, I live in Cumberland. I've never seen anything like it. And I guess the intestinal remains of that which they didn't want to have, he didn't want to have for dinner, at 4 in the morning, were out there on the road. The most primal scream I've ever heard in my life shook me to a core. So be careful out there. I guess they don't like people, but there was a 12-year-old boy in Rehoboth that was attacked by one that might have been rabid. Just letting you know. I don't know what to say. It's just scary. You ever seen one, Laura? Oh my God. Or heard one? Oh, brutal. All right, and lastly, big game tonight. Kicks off in about 25 minutes on ESPN, I guess. Cumberland plays Chicago West. Here's the coach, Dave Belisle, talking about whether he thinks the kids can pull off this victory.
Been doing it all year with you know, the bottom half of the lineup, the secondary pitching. So if we're going to be successful, which we have been, it takes a team effort, and I'm pretty confident that the boys who will be pitching tomorrow will do the job. They're going to come through. I know they will.
Well, they're in the elimination bracket. You know, they've had one loss, it's double elimination. You know, Dave Belisle, I have thoughts about Little League and too much focus on it, but Dave Belisle is just such a great mentor for these kids. By the way, they're putting a full screen up at Diamond Hill Park at 8 o'clock to watch the game. So if you got 20 minutes, or catch the second half of the game, run out there and enjoy it. All righty, Todd Giroux running for governor when we come back. Stay with us. So we talk about the big three in the Democratic side in the race: Gina Raimondo, Angel Tavares, and Clay Powell, and whether he's catching up. But there's a fourth guy in this race that's got a point or two or 10 to make. Here's one of them.
Hi folks, I'm Todd Giroux running for governor as a Democratic primary here in Rhode Island. We all know we're in a jobs and manufacturing crisis here in Rhode Island, and that affects consumer spending. And the number one way to preserve $4 billion of consumer spending in Rhode Island is to end pension reform and put it back in the people who earned that money.
Really?
That's right, Dan.
Good to see you. How you been? Long time no see.
Good to see you. $4 billion of consumer spending stays in the state by the people who earned it by ending pension reform.
And what happens to the people in the state who are funding the money that drives this economy with unfunded liabilities out the wazoo, the likes of which will enable us to never make good on the money that you think should be in the pockets of the people who are going to spend that to improve the economy?
Okay, so let's talk about the downturn of the economy in 2008 when they created the 2008 Emergency Economic Stabilization Act and created the TARP programs. There was a provision in the repaid banking money that said any state that lost $1 billion in their statewide pension before 2010 was to qualify for pension insurance. And I'm making that an election issue. And if I can be the guy to put $1.2 billion back in the pension fund by law, that was a 10-year plan for the entire economy, not just a 2-year plan for the banks. The 2008 Emergency Stabilization Act, all those TARP funds are legal until 2018. And we still got time to bring the help to the states that we can.
So you, as governor, want to get the federal delegation to secure TARP money to fill the gap in pensions so that you can unreform the pensions and put that money in the wallets of pensioners.
Right. Pension reform began when the stock market in 2009 hit 6,800 points. That's when pension reform became a major issue. And so now, stock market's at 16,700, an increase of 10,000 points. It took 60 years for the pension fund, for the stock market to reach 10,000 points. From the beginning of the stock market till 2008, it took 60 years to reach 10,000 points. And we've had that sort of contraction and expansion. We've had an increase of 10,000 points in the last 4 years. The need for pension reform is coming to an end. And if we can, by law, put $1.2 billion back in the pension fund, create sustainability there.
Again, that money's coming from the Fed TARP program.
That's right. That's right.
What happens to the state municipal unfunded liabilities, which are actually even larger than the state's unfunded liability?
I know that we're going to have new hires enter a different type of pension reform, privatized 401ks and like that. But we have an obligation to the pensioners who earned that money. Often they accepted a lower wage, they put their 20 years in, and we're putting a gun to their head saying, give us your money. And that's wrong. Anytime we have an obligation, we need to make good on it.
Okay, that's one of his big issues. When we come back, a couple more. Stay with us.
Rhode Island sales tax is 7%. Massachusetts is 6.25%. And we're losing $6 of revenue over 75 cents worth of tax. What makes sense for Rhode Island? We need to get out the vote. In the Democratic primary on September 9th, vote Giroux. I want to return $6 to Rhode Island through the sales tax reduction.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, you want to match Massachusetts.
In reality, I want to beat that. I want it down to 5.3%. We continually see Rhode Island cars shopping in Massachusetts, and for every $100 spent, and there's just thousands of cars daily, traveling over the line, we're losing revenue. We're losing $6 in revenue over the cost of 75 cents. And when you stack those quarters up and you see the difference, it just doesn't make sense.
I don't think anybody would argue with you, to be honest with you. I don't know why the General Assembly can't figure out that we can't be competitive. I would think on everything that we have to measure our financial infrastructure against in terms of our neighboring states, we should be a skosh better and more competitive.
Absolutely.
I don't know why that hasn't rung true. So on that one, I buy into what you're saying.
Excellent. Every Rhode Island business should be able to say, we are regionally competitive. And that's what marketing a state is about.
So what are you doing in this race again? I mean, you got no money to put into it. You sit there like, and I say this respectfully.
I put in my 20 grand. Listen, for a Main Street guy who
your own 20 grand?
Yes, sir. I have a loan to do the work that I'm doing.
Why would you do that?
Because I believe in Rhode Island.
You've been unemployed, right, for a long time?
I'm a contractor, so sometimes we have jobs and sometimes we don't. But I've taken the majority of my year to do this because I have solutions that are bigger than the problems we have. And when I talk about the bailout money and that repaid TARP, I want to bring $5 billion of money into Rhode Island. I want a statewide commerce fund, a low-interest revolving fund for small businesses and property owners. People get their furnaces, their window, hire the local contractor. It's a jobs plan that's not on the back of the Rhode Island taxpayer. And I want to create trust funds of investment for health care, so we continue to pay for health care, trust funds of investment for our infrastructure, and that's what $5 billion can do for Rhode Island.
Right.
And it's law until 2018.
Well, I appreciate you dishing out the platform, but what should people know about you and why you want this gig and why you put yourself out like this? You've often talked about having unstable employment, and you put this kind of your own dough.
Well, the fact is,
tell me, some people think you must have a screw loose to be doing this. I mean,
the fact is, Dan, is that my dad was a painter, and I watched him work too damn hard. If when people get into trouble with their home and they get in that pissing contest with the bank, that's a real fight that people lose sleep over. And when people don't have health care, that affects one's entire outlook on life. And before Rhode Island health care came along, I didn't have health care for 14 years. I'm a Democrat. I believe
you support the health care exchange?
I do. I believe in fair housing. I believe in health care. I believe in jobs for Rhode Islanders. And when we bring in a commerce fund, we're providing tens of thousands of local investments. And again, they get their windows, their furnace, hire the local contractor. And that's what Rhode Island needs, is an executive that's a PR agency, thinking big, bringing in this federal money and having solutions bigger than the problems.
So in the midst of the big three battling with their multi-million-dollar efforts, people should think of you because?
Because I want Rhode Island to win. I want people to win. Historically, when some college student is writing their thesis 20 years from now, and they may say, that kid was right. If Rhode Island had $5 billion of investment at the right time, we would have saved Rhode Island and a million of people all sorts of grief. Keeping people in their homes with a jobs plan. And that's what Rhode Island needs, and that's why I do this.
All right. Are you, is this your last stand, or is this something you're committed to for every election cycle?
You know, I want to work with the Department of Labor and Training. I want to work with the social services in the state. I absolutely have a place in Rhode Island government. Whoever wins this race needs a Main Street leader like me in the leadership of the state.
Oh, so you'd like a gig with whoever wins?
Absolutely. I'm here to work for the state of Rhode Island. I'd rather do this than paint houses. That's the fact.
Good luck.
Thank you, Dan.
Todd Giroux, your state of mind when we come back. Stay with us. You know, I just figured out Todd Giroux is running for governor because he's looking for a job with one of the other three. Honest, at least. To your voicemail, of course, this is how you get in touch with us. 228-1886 is the voicemail number. Email me or Facebook post or tweet at me. Listen to this voicemail. Interesting. Two voices.
Hope you can do some coverage of the ruination of Kennedy Plaza, which is causing so much suffering for bus riders, especially the handicapped and elderly.
You know, when somebody gets hurt down there because they get run over by a car, run over by a bus because of all this stupid stuff, the papers are going to be out there, and guess what? There's going to be blood. It's crazy.
Now remember, they're doing construction at Kennedy Plaza, and a lot of the people are inconvenienced by the way they're moving the bus routes around. We'll take a closer look. You know, nothing is convenient during construction, but it merits a look, I promise. We'll see you on the radio at noon tomorrow on WPRO and back here tomorrow night. Good night.